10 years ago, for every 2 pages that Google scraped, they sent you 1 visitor. About 6 months ago, that number was for every 6 pages they scraped. Today, for every 18 pages they scrape, they send you 1 visitor. Google is just absolutely decimating web pages, and web views are just getting killed. But you should be making a newsletter.
If you create content that cannot be found anywhere else, you're probably still going to be okay. You just have to be better nowadays. You have to be really entertaining. You have to be unique. You have to have something that AI can't give.
If you're going to get blown out by AI, you shouldn't have existed in the first place anyways. So, all right, what's up, Louis? We are back for another Letterland pod. I apologize for being absentee father for a few of those, but I'm done being a deadbeat. I'm back.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you back. We had this really unexplained run of 2 of our most popular episodes ever, so it's really good to break that trend and get you back in the hot
I'm
seat.
not gonna lie, it hurts a little bit when I look at the numbers and they're doing better than the episodes with me on them. But you had 2 great guests, so I'm glad they went well. But today I want to get into a couple of things. The biggest thing probably, and I was just dying to talk to you about this, is this week, one of the biggest things that everyone in the space is kind of talking about is Beehiiv launched something new. Well, it's not really new. It's kind of old, right? But they just did put some lipstick on it, I would say. So they launched something called the Top 4, which is basically their recommendation program, but they renamed it to make it seem a little bit more interesting. And, you know, I think it's more of a marketing ploy than anything, but the basic idea is they're trying to get you to pick 4 people to do free recommendations for. They're doing a bunch of marketing around it saying, I don't know what the number is, you know, someone's 32 times more likely to recommend you if you recommend them. And they've done some cool stuff on the background in the back end and saying, hey, here's, 4 people that we recommend that you recommend. I will say that the marketing has worked on me. I got pretty excited when I looked at, who was recommended for me. Somebody that was a pretty big newsletter that I absolutely love and don't have a real relationship with. They actually recommended me. So I thought that was really cool. So it seems to be working, but obviously you are a direct competitor with SparkLoop to at least this part of Beehiiv, their recommendation tool. So I want your take on it. If you think this is interesting, if you think it will work, what do you have on the top 4 that Beehiiv launched?
Honestly, I haven't looked at it a whole bunch.
It's like the Mad Men meme. Like, I don't think about you at all,
No, it's free recommendations is like not a super big focus for us right now. We just see, generally speaking, like better performance at the paid recommendations, and our model is moving more and more into, like, at SparkLoop specifically, is being like, we power the paid recommendations networks for like other email platforms, right? So like Kit has their own free recommendations network, and we power the paid recommendations part of that. Like we have our own free recommendations network as well, but we concentrate more on the paid rec side. On the top 4, I mean, I think there's 2 things. I think number 1, Beehiiv does have to do something on the free recommendation side. Like they have to deliver something new, because they are really falling behind Substack and Kit there. Like I've reasonable ideas of the numbers, like the ballparks of how each of these is doing. I can't share them, but they are definitely falling behind Substack and Kit. They have very different approaches to like how they do things, Substack and Kit. But I think number 1, they're actually falling behind. But number 2, the worst thing is there's like this perception, which is partly because the perception of the value of Substack's recommendations is like really overinflated.
Yep.
There's this perception that Substack's recommendations is like, it is better than Beehiiv's, but it's not as much better than people think it is, right? So they have to do something to make their own recommendations tool seem a little bit better than it is, because Substack seems so much better than that actually is, which is actually better than Beehiiv's actually is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I cannot tell you, I only have a handful of consulting clients. I'm pretty sure every single one of them has brought up to me at some point, and most of them are currently on Beehiiv. Everyone on Beehiiv has brought up to me hey, should we change to Substack? Because, we've seen the charts. I think it was, Lenny Rachitsky put the chart of like, hey, this is where I started using Substack referrals, and it's just hockey stick growth. So I think I agree with you. There's this perception that Substack referrals and recommendations are just absolutely crushing. And I think from a pure numbers perspective, they are, but also when you kind of dig into the numbers and you actually dig into how they're doing that, right? They're recommending you to 10 other newsletters in, 10 places. And so it's a bit of a clusterfuck, but I think they're doing a good job of at least making people believe that it is the ultimate growth engine, and that it's become this kind of like discoverability tool, right? Which, Beehiiv certainly doesn't have. So I agree. I think Beehiiv had to do something like this, and I don't know. I think it's clever marketing. It clearly worked on me. Not that it says much.
No, I mean, we're going to talk, I think, a little bit more about this on the Q&A episode, which is going to be like pretty recommendations heavy, right? We're going to do like a recommendation special. So
yes,
I think we're going to get a little bit into the difference between like Substack and Beehiiv and Kit, and theoretically Ghost sort of has recommendations as well, and Sparkloop has free recommendations, paid recommendations. So we'll get a little bit into like the nuances of that there, and which one maybe is performing better and why. But I like that Beehiiv's doing something new there, that they have to try something. And it is difficult, right? When you have what Substack has, not to get too deep into this now and then go into it on the Q&A, it is interesting how Substack has this, like they have their own way of getting people to do, like to interact with recommendations and even like opt into it. Kit has a different way of doing that. And Beehiiv's issue has been that they haven't had that. And basically, a lot of the recommendations activity that has been on there has been either like you're either being recommended by someone who works at Beehiiv or is an investor in Beehiiv, or you're recommending somebody who works at or is an investor in Beehiiv, or like someone you directly know. They haven't had that mechanism to get people to recommend strangers that are good.
Yep.
So this looks like it's their play to do that, mixed in with just a little bit of like they need to launch a new feature every week. There aren't that many new features they can build. They need something to there every whatever it is, every Tuesday or every Thursday. So I like it. I think it's interesting. I don't think is it are we going to be talking about this in 2 months? No, but I mean it's an interesting, cool thing to try, and I mean I like it. I hope like anything that makes people more open to the idea of recommendations is good for newsletters in general. So I like it.
Yeah, I will say I still don't think they're doing a spectacular job to your point about making it easy to find people, right? Because they've done a really great job, and I know you haven't really messed around with it, but they do a great job of suggesting a top 4, right? So they say, hey, here's some people that you should probably put in your top 4, give free recommendations to. What they don't do is kind of like the second level. If you look at those and say like, hey, probably not. For example, for the water coolest, they put Liquidity's exec sum, right? Like I would look at him as a pretty direct competitor. So like I probably don't want to recommend right to him, but there might be another kind of, maybe it's a crypto newsletter or something in the sports world that I would want to do. And so the way to find those is you can kind of go to an explore page, but the only way they have it broken down is by categories. And they don't do a great job of explaining what these newsletters are, how successful they are, right? Like it could be, again, I look at sports, it'll be Matthew Berry's newsletter, which is, an absolute killer, Fantasy Life. And then there could be a sports newsletter that has, 500 subscribers on it and was started yesterday. So I think they need to do a better job of helping me find people who are a good fit and doing a little bit more hand holding there. But I'm sure it'll get better, right? I think it's a step in the right direction, but like that second layer could probably be a little better. So whoever's listening from Beehiiv, do better on the next step, please.
I think about how much we still have to build at Sparkloop. Like there's some filters on that part that we haven't done yet. For example, Kit has this really neat thing that you can see people who are creators who are subscribed to you, like newsletter operators who actually already subscribe to your newsletter. It will surface them. as
Mhm.
people that you might want to recommend or be
Oh, that's
recommended
cool.
by.
Yeah.
And like we don't do that yet at Sparkloop. We do some other stuff. Like we have this newsletter radar product that's really good at matching you with other newsletters that you should be partnering up with.
Yep.
And it does a lot of smart stuff, but it doesn't do that. And I'm thinking like, okay, so we just have to do like paid recommendations, free recommendations, referral programs, basically is like what we do as a product. And we still haven't done like one of these kind of no-brainer things yet. And then you look at someone like Beehiiv that is it's essentially like 150 different products sort of rolled into one, and they launch a new one every month. And it's like, I kind of understand why they haven't got around to like fleshing out a lot of these features just yet. Like it's it's pretty hard, even with like whatever they have, like $40 million in funding, like replicating 50 different tools at the same time is pretty difficult.
That doesn't mean I'm not going to complain. It makes my life harder because all my consulting clients say, "Hey Tyler, we love two of the top four they recommended. Could you go find some other newsletters we should recommend?" And I'm just like clicking on newsletters and hoping that, in their description they say, who their demographic is and how many subscribers are on the list. So, yeah, it's fine. But
what it can be as well is like Beehiiv's network is not super fleshed out. Like there's a lot of newsletters on Beehiiv, but the vast majority of them skew like crypto, AI, basic local newsletters, but like
yep,
the very, very, very beginners, because it's so cheap and
right,
quick to get started, and they market so hard to those beginners. So a big challenge that they'll have is like, it has to be a top 4, not a top 5 probably, because the drop off in quality from like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 is going to be pretty huge. And so that will be an issue, I think. And that's maybe one of the smart reasons why they went with the top 4 is like, here are 4 that are probably like, you probably kind of like these and you'd probably be comfortable recommending them. But like if we showed you 8, maybe the stuff below, like the second layer beneath that top 4, maybe it wouldn't quite be where you'd want to be. It's a problem we had it for a while at Sparkloop, right? When we started, we only had like a couple of thousand good newsletters in there, and the relevancy plus quality would drop off pretty hard for the first like 2-3 years.
The marketplace dilemma, right? It's like you need both sides of the equation. I'm curious that from you can't speak for Beehiiv, but from a Sparkloop perspective, is there a certain number of recommendations, and I wonder if that has to do with the number 4. Is there a certain number of recommendations that people see on, call it like the co-registration widget, that pisses people off, right? Have you guys done anything about that? Like, I feel like when I'm looking at a newsletter, if I see, more than 3 or 4, just as a user, I'm like, okay, that's a lot, right? And I don't know if that's just because I've been trained. You guys have kind of trained me on that, or if there's some science to it. But have you kind of looked into that?
Yeah, we do that all the time because we try and figure out what we should recommend you do by default, right? Each of the widgets works slightly differently and they're formatted slightly differently, so there's no one correct answer. But basically what you want to get to is, if you can fit them all on the screen so they're all visible, that's going to be about right. So the optimum lies somewhere between 4 and 6, roughly, at least for Sparkloop. Like we settled on 5. But 5 gives you enough, like what you're hoping for is that someone's going to find 2 or 3 options that they kind of like and that they're going to opt into, right? Like you're hoping they're going to find 2 or 3. What you don't want to do is have just 1 or 2, because the likelihood that they just skip it is pretty high. Like it's better to have more than that so they can find something they like. But you also really don't want to have so many that it's overwhelming. Like I think Substack, Beehiiv used to allow 7. I don't know if they still do.
They're now
Substack
up to
used
27.
to allow 9. Really? No.
I'm kidding.
I think they still do 7. Substack did 9, and I think they still allow 9, which is like, it's way below the fold. Like you have to scroll through it. No one's doing that. But I think what you really don't want to do is to have something really, really bad in there. Like people will scan, and if they see something that's like so obviously not their fit, they almost don't even look at the other ones and they skip. So 3 to 5, if you're in a super, super specific niche that's so weird that no one's going to like, even generic like newsletters, maybe go for 2 or 3. If you're an average user, 5 is going to be the best bet.
Yeah, we should actually, I don't know if we're going to get into this in the Q&A, but we should talk about soon kind of optimizing so your newsletter stands out on, on one of those widgets. Because I guess it's something I've never really actually even thought about, because I think by default, most of them just kind of pull the description that you put in your general description. So I'm curious if there's ways, to kind of differentiate yourself on there and be like, hey, kind of be a pick me versus, just kind of being one that somebody scrolls past.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's I think having a decent logo that stands out is a big part of it because the image catches the attention. Having a name that is like name of the newsletter plus human attached to it is pretty great. Not just newsletter name or human. Definitely not just like Louis' newsletter, unless you're literally like Lenny with Lenny's newsletter. He has a pretty strong logo that's not just him. And then I tend to try and keep the description text relatively short. Like, don't use the full width because it'll go and people won't see it. In some platforms, it gets like
if you get the ellipses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my thing with that has always been like we help the people on Sparkloop who do paid recommendations, like who pay for recommendations, like to optimize that pretty heavily. And honestly, just go to ChatGPT, plug in some other ones, ask it for 50 different variants, choose the 2 or 3 you like, test them, see how that affects the earnings per impression or like the conversion rate per impression. That tends to be what I would recommend. Good stuff to put in there is like who reads it, like almost like a hook in TikTok. Like if you're this person, you're like this, social proof around like number of readers, how often it gets sent out, that kind of thing. You're just really looking to like, who's this for? What's the value? And like, why is this like a good newsletter? Right?
Yeah.
Like, why am I confident that other people are getting this and that they like it?
It's actually funny that you mentioned that. That was one of the things I was thinking when I was kind of searching for secondary top 4s is how many people don't put in, even in their description on their landing page, of how many people read their newsletter. Like I thought that was just really 101 stuff. And I think it's just super important. If you don't have that in there, and maybe this is me through, kind of a newsletter consultant lens, but I look at it and I'm like, okay, this newsletter is a nobody, right? Like even if I see 5,000, 10,000 people, read by 10,000 other people, I'm like, okay, like that's not easy to go out and convince 10,000 people to read something. Like that's awesome. I think some people think, it has to be 100,000 or 200,000 people before you put that number. But I do think that's like often overlooked for beginners. I think it's once you get to a couple thousand, I think it's worth putting in there.
Yeah, I love that. I like the raw number if that's relatively impressive. Obviously, if you're like a daily newsletter that you have like 2,000 subscribers, there's probably a better way you can do it. You can probably put in like a testimonial from a specific, like who is your like most impressive subscriber, and say like a short testimonial from them, right? That can work really well. The other one I like is like maybe putting in the numbers or read by decision makers at XYZ brands. I really like that format, especially if you compare it with the number, like 3,000. I think my newsletter one is, I think my sign up is something like read by X thousand smart newsletter operators from, and then I list out like 10 different newsletters. I think I just put like the logos of those newsletters that people would recognize like inside of the text.
It's interesting, but yeah, we'll definitely have to get into that a little bit more on landing pages and what you should put. But I want to get into something. Can I be a little selfish here?
Yeah, you want to try something new. I'm all for new.
Yes. So I want to try a new segment. We'll see what you guys think. But it's funny because I think I said at some point I hate the people who build in public, and that's exactly what we're going to kind of do now. But I had this idea, like I'm always kind of trying and experimenting with the water coolest, and so I want to look at a segment where we do a little like R&D, like I share kind of what some of my experiments are. I'll share them with you. I'd love your feedback on them, mostly because I think you can make them better. And then we'll share kind of the results with the readers, or the listeners. So I want to get into it. The first thing that I'm trying currently is, so a lot of people, right, try a referral program. We've talked about it quite a bit that they don't work great, whether it's a milestone, one big reward. They're hard to pull off. They still work for some newsletters. I would say in general, they are not probably worth your time and effort of having to send out stickers, mugs, t-shirts, whatever it is. So I tried one recently. I kind of turn them on, turn them off every once in a while to see. I mix up the pricing, mix up the communication. it did okay, right? Like again, it just like wasn't worth the time that I put into communication. So I started thinking a little bit more about what I could do. I have a pretty engaged audience. They really like what I do. A lot of people write in and say like, "Hey, that was a funny line." So I also happen to see a lot of people who just kind of drop this one liner and almost forget about it is please forward this email if you like it, right? And that's kind of where they leave it. So I tried to think of a way that I could marry these two things. So what I started putting in the water coolest, I put this in the PS, and I'm going to read it for you. So here's an example that I sent yesterday. P.S. Are you loving the water coolest? Forward it to someone who wishes they owned a Stegosaurus skeleton. And the reason I said someone who wishes they own a Stegosaurus skeleton is because I talked about Ken Griffin buying a Stegosaurus skeleton. He's a hedge fund manager. He spent like $45 million on it. I talked about that in the newsletter. I go on to say, if you CC me, and I put in parentheses, there's a brand new email address. It's forward@thewatercoolest.com. I'll send you guys both something. Then I hit him with a PPS. Did someone with great taste who thinks you love dinosaurs still forward this to you? You can subscribe to the water coolest here. Right. So I want to break this down real quick on why I did each of these things. One is the PS. PSs just work in newsletters. People tend to look at them. And this is right at the top of my newsletter. So I have a pretty quick introduction. And then I hit these people with the PS. The forward it to someone who wishes they owned a Stegosaurus skeleton. As you might have imagined, I change that every single day. So my reasoning there is one, yes, maybe there's like, I catch people with an inside joke, right? Especially if I'm talking about something related to finance, I try to make it something fun. So maybe they're going to forward it because there's kind of an inside joke. And two, I want people to read it every day. So I kind of make it content basically. It's a part of the newsletter that they're going to want to read so they can see, what I'm actually talking about today. Then I made an additional email address, right? So it's fwd@thewatercoolest.com. Mostly that was so I could track it a little bit more easily in my inbox. But I wanted people to, I wanted to just feel a little bit different. I think we talked about this, before, sending from different email addresses. And then I said, I'll send you both something, right? So this is kind of taking from the referral program where you're going to get a prize. I kind of wanted to keep it vague because at the beginning, I only wanted to see basically what people would do this, and I imagine it's my most engaged. They're going to do it regardless. They don't really care about the prize, but if they get something, that's cool. And so what I've actually been doing is I reach out to the people. So anyone who forwards it to somebody else, I reach out to them and say, hey, do you guys live near each other? I would love for you guys to get together and have a drink. First round is on me. I'll pay for it. I'll Venmo you for the first round. The only thing I ask is that you guys send a picture of me that I can share in the newsletter, either having a drink or grabbing coffee, whatever it is. And so my thought there is, one, it's kind of a community builder. I think it'll be cool when I start sharing the pictures. Two, I don't know. It may end up costing me quite a bit of money. It's still pretty early. I've gotten a ton of engagement. A lot of people, right, when I send that to them, they either say, one, we don't live near each other, or two, hey, we're going to subscribe to this. We love the newsletter. You don't need to buy us, the first round. And most people reading my newsletter make a lot of money and it just doesn't matter to them. And I kind of knew that. So it's going to be one of those things where, yes, some people are going to take me up on it. I'm going to have to Venmo them, $15 or something like that. At the end of the day, it's probably going to net out. I don't know how this is going to turn out financially for me, but I will say that I'm getting crazy engagement compared to the number of people who are doing the referral program. I'm not sure if this is just my audience, but I think there's something to this, and I want to keep tweaking it a little bit to see if I can kind of marry forwarding and a referral program. So maybe even putting the referral code in the forwarded email. I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, if you have any questions for me, but it's something that I think other people might want to try.
Interesting. Yeah. So, my first thought my first comment is over this weekend, my fiance is away. I'm going to be spending the weekend creating new email addresses, signing up to your newsletter, and getting $15 at a time. Which, by the way, the first round's on you. We're going to be ordering expensive drinks, so I'll be sending you $45, $60.
Well, that was the problem. I was like, I don't know. I'm trying to like figure out where people live. I'm like, okay, you live in the Midwest. I'm sending you like $10, right? Like you're buying like two Bud Lights, and then I see people in the city. I'm like, oh, you're probably buying like $25 cocktails. So I think I'm probably just gonna start sending $10 to people and be like, hey, here's the thing. But I would say of the people who did it, maybe 5% of people have actually sent me their Venmo request, and I'm only going to send them the request once they send me the image. So I'm making it pretty hard for them. And I realize this is probably not sustainable over the long term, but I just wanted to do this as an experiment to see what people are willing to do. And the interesting thing is they didn't even know what the prize was going to be, right? It was just kind of like, hey, I'll send you guys something. It could have been anything. So it tells me that these people are just doing it because they love the newsletter, which is, if nothing else, it's great to hear.
Yeah, it's cool. Can you share, like, you said it's going really well. Can you share any numbers or like just like a sense of the scale of this, like compared to the referral program, maybe, if you don't want to share the numbers?
Yeah. So, I mean, the referral program, I was getting a couple a day. I was going to say a handful. It's not even a handful, like 2 or 3 referrals a day. Last I checked, actually, before, and I've been doing it now for about almost 2 weeks, and I still get about 10 per day that are forwarding it. So I know it's going to drop off at some point, right? I'm kind of going through my, best subscribers, or, the people who love the water coolest the most. But I think it's something that, I could kind of set up every once in a while and, kind of do it, shut it down, bring it back again, almost like I see a lot of people doing with referral programs. So yes, it's not a crazy, it's not going to change the trajectory of my business, but compared to the referral program, it's getting a lot more people to engage, right? It's like 5 times more effective.
Yeah. How many of those people have you seen? Like, have you tracked through whether those people have actually subscribed and start reading the newsletter?
Yeah. So that's the other thing. I have not gone back, and that's one of the things we'll kind of we'll revisit this, in a couple of weeks and see how things are going and see if it's fallen off. So that's one thing, right? That is a major issue because those people technically don't have to take action for this. What I have been doing is I send them a sign up link. So when I send that email that says, hey, I want to buy you guys a drink, by the way, go sign up here. So it's almost like a bit of a guilt, like, hey, I'm going to buy you a drink. The least you can do is sign up for it. But yeah, I mean, I know it's not going to be 100%. And then of course it's not going to be for everybody.
The thing I was thinking about this, like, I like that when you initially said, like, you put the call to action and like the call to action to sign up in the PS and the PPS, I was thinking this was like right at the bottom of the email. I was like, oh, hardly anyone's going to see this who's still engaged. But you said it's at the end of the intro section, basically, right? So it's like it's pretty high up in the email, which I like. The challenge you have there, though, is like you don't get great conversion rates necessarily from someone just reading having the edition forwarded to them and then them subscribing, which I think is why a lot of referral programs, I've tried that in the past with referral programs to like send them the actual edition, and instead even people who really enjoyed it and like you can see they read to the end and they clicked, a lot of people just don't end up subscribing for whatever reason because they're busy, they don't want to right now, right? Like they need you to send it to them a couple of times before they actually like started to miss having that in their inbox. So I don't love that part of it. It's interesting that you're doing this like one-to-one because traditionally referral programs really has been all about one-to-many, right? So put it in the Slack group, put it in like the boys chat, put it on Twitter or Facebook or wherever.
There have been a bunch of people. Yeah. I wouldn't say a bunch of people. Again, I'll get the stats. I would say probably like 25% of people are forwarding it to multiple people. And I actually haven't asked about that. So that could be something where I change the language a little bit of like send it to your 3 best buddies or something, right? That's like just another way to multiply it.
Yeah, definitely. I like that idea of it. The forwarding it via email thing feels, it's a very I'm interested to see how it works. I have no idea because it feels very unusual to me in that like no one in my generation and younger, I think, is like sharing stuff via email anymore in that sense, right? Like, I don't think anyone's ever like, I've had people for like work purposes forward me something that's important or relevant or like where I'm mentioned in it or like a friend of ours is mentioned, but not like, hey, here's some cool content, right? That would tend to be uh, also probably like I optimize my life for like if someone's going to be sending me emails with like random links, like they're not going to have my email address very long and like they're definitely not getting my phone number. So like those friends are like, I pretty quickly find a way like not to reply to those so they get the message.
Right.
But yeah, I'm interested to see how that will work. I wonder if there's like a way you can do this. Like two thoughts of like things that might be interesting to try on this. Number one is like what I think about is like the payload. So what are you asking people to share with their friends? And I think that's where on referral programs the bar has really moved over the last 2, 3, 4 years, is that just sharing the newsletter very often isn't enough anymore. And that you want that thing to be something that they would find like super cool and like the kind of thing that like on Instagram and TikTok is now optimized for being shared. Like these, we talked in an earlier episode about like the couples quizzes and like the, hey, which investment guru are you, right? Like how we were like, are you smarter than this 5-year-old kid or like, or could you pick these stocks better than an octopus or something, right? And then you have that calculator you create, and then
Right.
you say, hey, I've created this so you can like that friend who thinks that like those friends who think they're smart, you can finally prove how dumb they are. Drop this in the group chat, send me a screenshot, and I'll buy you all a round of drinks or something.
Right. Right.
I feel like that could potentially work better in that it it feels you feel cooler or like better about having shared it rather than sharing a newsletter. You get the multiple people and they're going to be maybe more interested to actually then like go and interact with that thing. Could be interesting as well. So that's something I would maybe think about is like if you explore like different versions of this, maybe trying that.
I like the idea of gamifying it, right? Like, yeah, whether it's trying to figure out how, between you and your, again, group chat, who's the best stock picker, like maybe just pick a couple stocks, that week. And then I say, I'm going to give a prize to whoever, whoever has the best pick or something, or, whoever has the biggest return. That could be super interesting. I like that idea of making it something more than just like, hey, here's the newsletter. That's interesting that you have seen that fall off, right? Because I always thought one of the issues with the referral program is you're just like getting someone to take the action. They're basically going to a landing page without seeing the email. So the fact that you're saying now, even if an email is forwarded to them and they're getting kind of a taste, the first hit, and they're not even signing up then, like that's pretty damn concerning to me. And I'm interested to see how this works, but
I mean, it's just a question of like numbers, right? Like if 10 people if 10 people are referred, so they see the email, but only one of them actually bothers to sign up, even though maybe 5 of them liked it, you've still only got 1 subscriber from that. Whereas if 10 people see the link, 8 of them subscribe to the newsletter, but only 3 of those actually end up enjoying it, that's still 3 times better than the one you got from the other area.
yes,
Like I think this has legs. Like I'd like to see just like I think again just the bar is like you just be weirder and more fun and more like
yep,
like I would love to see this as like do some kind of like crazy like some kind of quiz where people have to put their email addresses in to get the results and they sign up for the newsletter. It's something that you want to share with the boys or like with your group chat, whatever it is. Maybe go with like an anti-reward. Like this could be fun as like who's going to get like share this with your group chat. Everyone like does the results, and the worst person, I'm going to send like a rock of shame or something. And it's like literally just like a rock with like loser written on it, like with felt tip pen,
yeah,
and you just send that to them in the mail. And yeah, like I think that, and like people are gonna love that. It's gonna go viral. I think that kind of thing could work really well.
cool. This
It's
is
a lot cheaper than spending 15 bucks on a round of drinks.
yeah, or 45 if you're in a major U.S. metro area. Yeah, see, I mean, this is why I keep you around. I like that idea. kind of bringing it to the next level. So what we'll do in a couple of weeks, we'll kind of see what the results are from this initial test. And then, I'm going to think through a little bit more with my team, what else we can build out, whether it's, kind of a game or some sort of contest between groups that I think hopefully can, put a bit of a multiplier on this versus like a real true kind of one-to-one thing.
I think that's super fun. I think that like that negative reward, every time I've seen that tested, it's been very rarely, but it always performs super well as long as you get as long as you get the vibes, right? So that like they're like in on the joke. Like that idea of like the cone of shame or like the rock of shame or whatever it is. I love that idea. Like it's just so ridiculous that people are they're gonna want to take it, like to take the quiz to figure it out. And their friends are gonna be like, oh, you have to take it because if you don't, then the wrong person might get the thing. So like you have that like inbuilt peer pressure. And it's like a really good story that people will talk about as well.
So I wanted to share one final thing, and I guess it's good for newsletters. And I was talking to somebody, and they actually said to me, Tyler, in your consulting deck that you send out if you're pitching someone, this video should be the first page, right? Like this is what you should send to people. So we'll drop a link in the notes, but this is something that, I saw Sam Parr talking about it from The Hustle. Alex was talking about it from the Morning Brew. And it was the CEO of Cloudflare. He was talking at cons, Con, what do you say?
Can, yeah.
Okay. He was talking about just how much Google has changed, in recent years. So I'll drop these stats real quick on you. So 10 years ago, he said for every 2 pages that Google scraped, they sent you 1 visitor. About 6 months ago, that number was for every 6 pages they scraped, they sent you 1 visitor. Today, for every 18 pages they scrape, they send you 1 visitor. So basically what that's saying is AI is destroying the internet. That's basically his point, is that all the information that you need is basically appearing in an AI overview or some sort of other, kind of AI summary, and you don't actually need to visit a web page anymore. So the obvious implication for, the content and media world is less eyeballs on your page, the less money you make, the less you have to pay, creators, and, the level of content is going to go down. And, the traditional model for a web page is to make money off of, banner ads, basically, right? And it's just this big arbitrage play. And that's why you had the rise of SEO and everybody trying to basically compete for clicks. And so my biggest takeaway from this, and I'm curious where your head's at, Louis. You're certainly more of a technical guy, but you should be making a newsletter, right? Like if all these websites have been collecting email addresses all this time, they'd be in a much better spot because they would own this audience, or own it as much as you can own an audience on the internet. And I know all the haters are gonna come out and say, well, AI is coming for email, and that may be true, but these numbers are pretty damn staggering right now, and they are certainly not there for email yet. I don't know how bad it's going to get for our inbox. I'm sure Gmail changes are coming, but right now Google is just absolutely decimating web pages, and web views are just getting killed.
The way I think about this is I look at what kind of media company is most affected by this, and I look at what brands are affected by this and who it's going to hurt. And just moving forward, like firstly, you're not obliged to let AI scrape your content. Like Cloudflare came out with this proposal, I think yesterday, about like how they're going to allow you to block it or like essentially require micropayments. But you can also just
I think that's why he was talking about it. He's talking his book, but yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So even if I don't believe in the micropayments bullshit, but I do think like if you create content, interviews, original content that cannot be found anywhere else, you have information that literally AI cannot get its hands on, you're probably still going to be okay in the same way, right? People are going to still need to come to you for that. Absolutely, obviously, like having an email list is amazing. The value of your email list, by the way, just got even more valuable because now others need to rely on it even more because they can't rely on the traffic coming from someone like Google necessarily, right? If they don't have their own audience, they're going to have to rely on yours, or you're going to have to swap and work together, which has started to happen more with recommendations and stuff like that anyway. So great news, I think, there if you
I
already
will
have a
say
list.
anecdotally, I have seen across the water coolest and some of my clients, which is a small sample set, I've seen a lot more big brands testing ads that maybe I saw a few years ago running ads and have not been. I think, right, like it's more than making up for whatever slowdown there was because of tariffs, because I do think a lot of these big brands are realizing it, and I think a lot of these, smaller brands are going to start following, and some of these D2C brands that, maybe traditionally have been working a lot on, on Facebook or Instagram or something. I think there's just going to be a lot more testing in newsletters. So hopefully we perform for them, guys. Let's make sure we keep advertisers happy so they stay in the ecosystem.
That would be be great to see. One thing that I would like want to add on this, like my take on it, is it seems to be information first publishers and media brands that are getting hit by this. And what I mean by that is basically people have been creating SEO content that a real media brand or real publication doesn't really have any right or any reason to be creating. Like there was a void left by the fact that AI did not yet exist, that the only way to get access to this content was to search for it. And then if you were a big brand and you had good domain authority and you could get to the top of the search engine results, you could rank for it, you could then get subscribers and views. So like you see that with like Forbes and their ridiculous like affiliate thing that they had, right? You see it all over the place. Like
everything just comes back to Forbes. Like they are just like, the poster child of this.
Yeah, but like, why do these brands have why do you have like a review site for toasters? Why does this random brand have why are they doing food recipes and stuff
because
like that?
The affiliate links, right?
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's that, but it's also because it helps them to get views because people are searching for this. They'll click on it and they come through to their site, right? That's how they get them into their sphere. And it's that's being shut off because nobody wants to go and I don't want to read a 5-page story of your life just to get a recipe for protein waffles, right? I want Google's AI to tell me the answer. I want ChatGPT to tell me the answer. But I also go to AI for content creation, right? I go there if I want to generate something new and I want to have fun doing that with something else. But the one place I've never really been to AI for, and the one place I don't think anybody really is ever going to go to AI, at least not in not this iteration of AI, people don't go there to consume and enjoy, right? You go there for a specific request. You go there to get educated, maybe. You go there to create stuff, but you do not go to ChatGPT, and you won't anytime in the near future go there to actually just enjoy yourself and consume, right? Which is where I think brands, especially newsletters, are going to need to go to is it doesn't matter if ChatGPT has all the answers. You just got to make somebody laugh, right? You should, if they want to, it's like saying, oh yeah, ChatGPT is going to have all the plots to all of the movies, so you're not going to need to watch the movie anymore. You can just go and ask, what happens at the end of Titanic, right? It's
right.
Some people maybe are going to search that, but people are still going to want to go and watch a movie, right?
Yeah, you still want to see those certain scenes in Titanic.
Oh, there's a few good ones, yeah. But I think that's where we need to go, right? And it's going to force the good newsletters that are already doing this and others to double down on that. It's hey, you just have to be better nowadays. You have to be really entertaining. You have to be unique. You have to have something that AI can't give. It is, yeah. But that's a good thing, right? The ones who can do that are going to do really well, and the ones that don't are going to get lost in the AI nonsense. But they shouldn't have been the fact that they existed in the first place was kind of the problem. They shouldn't have been allowed to exist, really, in my opinion.
That's a good lesson to end on. If you're going to get blown out by AI, you shouldn't have existed in the first place anyway. So I like that. You're a dinosaur and you're going to go extinct. All right. I think that's all we have for this episode. We are going to go hop on to the Q&A episode. But I appreciate all of you guys joining us in Letterland. We will talk to you on the other side.
See you then.